let's do our sermon. It's time. Do you want to wait a little bit longer, or you want to do it now? We can talk about anything you guys want to talk about. Or we can just go into the sermon. The sermon is on the importance of creation. And I started becoming aware of creation when I started studying apparel merchandising in college. Welcome to Cam Church, Pop-Tart. I used to love Pop-Tarts. I used to only eat Pop-Tarts. I only ate Pop-Tarts for 6 months straight. And then I tried to kill myself. I think it's important to follow that little like tidbit up. Like, it's a terrible idea to eat only Pop-Tarts for 6 months. It will mess you the F up. It is not a solution to food. I thought it was. It is not. But no offense. So, creation. I started studying apparel merchandising. Apples for months straight will do you good. That's a good idea. That's a better idea than Pop-Tarts. I get tired of apples. Like, before the apple is over. I'm like, ugh, I'm tired of this apple. Okay. So I studied apparel merchandising, and I realized that the whole major was like talking about, all of my classes were like, how can you get this piece of clothing made for the cheapest? And then you go from one country to another country. You have to like see which countries are in war. You have to see which countries are maybe having like less restrictions on their sweatshops, see which countries actually have a minimum wage versus slave labor. And most of the time when you're in that industry, you want to be finding the cheapest option, which of course means slave labor, and inevitably ends up in war-torn countries. And I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that goes on in the fashion industry that is absolutely disgusting. If you guys don't know about this, there's a documentary on Netflix called Slave to Fashion. John Oliver did a segment on fashion. And this has just been, it's been a reoccurring topic in news sources, but we just love to buy cheap clothes. So the reason why I stopped studying that and I started studying the hand making of fabric is because I realized that in the loss of hand making things, when we outsource creation, we outsource a piece of our humanity and our spirituality. And this has been, a longer process than me simply switching majors. I've come to learn this over time, and as I went down the path of what I believed was the best possible thing, which was self-sufficiency. And I thought, I want to be completely self-sufficient. And so I imagined my life. I imagined just living in a little hand-built house by a river, with a garden. And I would be hand-making all of the clothes from, like, animal fibers and having, like, beautiful, farm animals to live with. And going out into the forest and collecting wood and hand-building my chairs and tables and, my bowls and spoons. And you just go through everything, and you're like, okay, I can hand make everything. But then it starts to get to, like, more advanced things, like okay, for instance, I'm like a really hardcore person, so when I think of something, I think of it all the way. So when I was thinking of hand-making clothes, for instance, I was like, okay, well, I don't think you can just buy fabric and sew it. I don't think that counts. I think you have to raise the animal, harvest the fiber, clean the fiber, spin the fiber, weave it into fabric, then sew the fabric into garments. So I was really hardcore about this, and I took this to the point, but then you start realizing, there are tools and machines that you need to do these things unless you want to spend a ridiculous amount of time doing it. So maybe you can make a little amendment for okay, well, I can have a spinning wheel because that's going to increase the time that it takes for me to spin my fiber versus just a drop spindle. And then you're like, okay, but when I get the fiber from the animal, it has to be carded or combed. So the way that you do that is if you do it by hand, you basically have to use these big brushes, and you have to it takes probably 5 to 10 minutes of hard arm work to get maybe this long of a string of yarn ready. So it's okay, if I'm going to be making like all of my clothes, I need a drum carder, an automatic like electric carder. But then you're like, okay, well then how am I going to get electricity? And so what I'm trying to explain is like, you can decide to be self-sufficient, but when you really look at it, we're not meant to be self-sufficient as humans. We're meant to be community sufficient. We're meant to rely on other people, and we're meant to have, once we all have specific things that we're good at and specific things that we're not good at. I don't think I would be good at building tables and chairs. And I think that it's okay if somebody down the street is. And I mean this in like a larger sense too. So while it is really romantic to envision a really small, closed off, you know, off the grid community that all like helps each other, we can also take this to the larger context of our towns and of our cities and of our internet communities and of our world. We are one community of people, and so when we are interacting with our community, the earth, for instance, like buying things from China, then we are blindly outsourcing our creation, or we're not seeing the consequences of what our consumption does. And so I think our culture right now, our cynical culture, is doing a really good job of analyzing all of the detrimental aspects of consumerism. I think everybody knows that consumerism is detrimental, but you need to consume things to live. Consumption is completely holy. And so the way I say it is the cure to consumption is creation. Pop-Tart, you can't just bring up monogamy in the middle of a discussion like this. You can watch the video. We have a few videos on that. Check out my YouTube channel. There's a few recent ones on polyamory, and there's also a Unicast on OutsideTimeAndSpace.com where you can click it, and Jeremy Gardner and I talked a lot about polyamory and monogamy on there. Yeah, there's some not polygamy. Polygamy is like when you have one man and multiple wives only. But polyamory is when like one person can love anybody no matter their gender. There's a common mistake of a common word mix-up. No big deal. Okay, so when we're interacting with the larger context of the globe as our community, and when we're interacting with anybody, just because our neighbor down the street is making our chairs doesn't mean we're gonna like screw him over by not paying him, or by like keeping him in like a warehouse. You know what I'm saying? So like a small community is beneficial because you're faced with the reality of what you're doing. You're faced with the reality of the conditions that somebody is performing work under, and the quality of work that they're in, and the overall life quality that they have. But when we outsource this, and then it's deliberately hidden from us how bad these conditions are, we can be oblivious consumers, and I think we feel it. I think we feel it in our products, and I think we feel it in our shopping experiences, and I think we vaguely know it enough that it really does detrimentally affect us, as well as obviously the people who are creating all of the clothes. How do you know all this? That's what Golden Coin wants to know. I just think all the time. I'm always thinking. That's why I'm just always thinking. Very deeply. So, hand-making things and appreciating where they're coming from. Because when I get this piece of clothing here, this is like a costume. This is a costume from a costume shop, right? It's a very simple, kind of poorly made, cheap fabric, kind of just sewn together. It probably costs like $15 or $20 to whoever bought it. It was given to me as a gift. I don't think of this as having been made by a person. In fact, the fabric was probably created. It's like a stretchy polyester fabric, so it was probably made by a machine through chemical processes, and then used woven by machines. And then the fabric itself was then probably cut by lasers. And an automatic laser cutting, fabric. So somebody designed the garment, they designed the fabric pieces, but then you know, they only had to do that one time. And then it was cut out with lasers. But then that fabric is then having to be sewn, and there aren't machines that can sew garments yet. There's sewing machines, but then people have to operate those sewing machines. So all of your clothes were handmade. When you think about that, it's an incredible realization, because we don't normally conceptualize of where our products are coming from. And I know this about clothing because that's what I'm an expert on specifically. But what about other things? What about wigs? Is that all done by machine? I don't know. I have no idea. This $11 wig could have been each hair could have been hand put on by slave children. I don't actually know. And that's really where awareness comes in, and where if you are starting a business, it is your responsibility to know where the items you're selling are coming from and the quality that that they're being made under as well. It's your responsibility as the person who is selling the product. So as a consumer, you can only do so much. And as a consumer, if you do feel like depressed about this, you can start hand making things. And hand making things is, do you guys know how Gandhi got the whole revolution from England in India? Do you know how he did that? He taught everyone how to spin their own yarn, because England was selling, they came in and they just started selling yarn and fabric. And then he taught everyone in India to spin their own yarn. And so they basically choked out the European influence and cut off of their ability to make a lot of money from India. And so they started localizing production. And by localizing production, they protected themselves from imperialists. So let's see what we say here. The globalization market was all about expanding profits. I've been thinking a lot about that. And then the expansion created huge infrastructure of money that exists just to serve its own bloated state. Hello? It's like meat products too. We are so detached from the pain we cause animals. Absolutely true. Isn't it so weird that Dove Cheney? I don't know his name. Dove. Is it Chevry? Charney? I don't know his last name. I know you're talking about American Apparel. Has had so many good ideas in that regard, but so many flawed in other regards. It's true. And I wonder if he is actually aware of stuff, or if he is a good business person. You know what I'm saying? I wonder if he just saw the opportunity to create clothing in a good way. But if that was the case, you'd think they'd be marketing it more. I don't think they market their ethical aspects enough. It's weird. So hand making things, where does it come in? First is just to recognize that a lot of your things are handmade. And it's just because we don't see or we're not connected with the process of them. The first step of hand making or of creation is to recognize and to research some of the things and how they're created in your life. This is not to get you down. This is not to make you feel bad. You will feel bad once you realize how much oppression and hardship and slavery there actually is in this world that you're directly benefiting from. But if you look beyond that, after you're done feeling that and you're ready to move beyond that, then you can start creating your own things. And you don't have to create everything yourself. That's kind of the whole point of what I was talking about before. You can choose one thing that you really like to do or make. It doesn't have to be a product. We are always thinking in products, but it does not have to be a product. It can be music, it can be art, it can be ideas, it can be a business itself. Whatever, it can be a reality. If you create your own reality, you create your own ideology, you can create a story, you can create literally anything that you want to create. If you feel an urge to create something, this is the cosmic message for you to do that. Because as you create stuff, you will have a hole in your soul that is filled. And don't worry about the quality at first. Don't worry about the quality at all. Just worry about quantity. Just create. Just let yourself create. I started knitting and I made my own hats and scarves, and I find it a good first step to making your own clothes and stuff. Yes, I love that. And then, okay, so then you can start, you can even start selling those things if you feel, if, you know, if you're creating and creating and you feel like it's a good thing to sell. You don't have to. It's like the emphasis on making money and product and everything is kind of unfortunate, but there is, I mean, it's an unfortunate reality is the truth, and there is a market now, you know, for more locally handmade things and for ethically made things. So research your things that you're purchasing, research the outlets, the companies, support the way you can really do a lot with how you spend your money. Buy things that you support. It's okay if occasionally you buy an $11 wig or some fake flowers, or, you know, like things that really are useful to you in your life. I know that those things don't seem like they'd be useful to you in your life, but for me as a pop star cult leader, they are essential items. So whatever that happens to be in your life, like it's okay. You can forgive yourself for your consumption and for the world that we live in. But just be aware and be conscious, and don't buy things just to throw them away, you know. Really make sure that you're going to be using the things that you buy that are coming from more economically like oppressed places. And just start hand making stuff. Diva made her own flowers with like coffee filters. Really beautiful. So cool. So like it's just really inspiring to see stuff like that, and just wonder, I probably could have even saved, you know, money by hand making it at that point. So experiment with your creativity, allow yourself to start creating things. Do not get down on the quality. Ignore the quality. There's nothing that can compare to you starting out. Just that's all. Like, be so happy that you're actually creating. That's all you need to focus on. Corpse rule: as soon as the dollar goes to communities, it's a wrap. I think we should try to create every time we consume. Out. Yeah, and that can even be with cooking. Oh no. Is it frozen? Oh no. What's happening? My computer's freaking out. Whoa, glitch party. Glitch party. Glitch party. Glitch party. Oh my goodness. That is cool. Do you guys see this? Whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, stream is continuing. Whoa. It's cool, huh? I guess, can you guys hear me? I guess Cam Church is over. Whoa, whoa. I'm doing this with my hands. Whoa, whoa. Okay, well, I guess Cam Church is over. It's a pretty cool effect that happened. Vocals are still good. This is Cam Church now. We're in cyberspace, you guys. I've been absorbed by the pixels. I can make some really cool effects. This will be cool in a video. I'm gonna download this video and then use it. You guys can use it too if you want. Sorry about the audio. I need to make those noises, apparently. I can't help but make the noises. Alright. So, that was the end of the sermon. That's all I have for today. So, you guys can have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow. Remember to check out my video on that I just posted, creating right now. I am fully integrated with the computer. Remember to check out my most recent video, you guys. It is on self-confidence and feeling good about yourself. And then Jeremy Garner is posting his new Fairyland video tomorrow. So check that out on his channel. Time to create. All right, everybody, spend your Sundays creating. You need bless.